Hey there. Welcome to the Pine Island Experience podcast. I'm Joanna Anderson with my husband, Trygve. Each of our episodes will be conversations with fellow Pine Islanders.
The goal of our podcast is to share with you our experiences, what we have found to be fun, and what makes the Pine Island experience so unique.
Songwriters come and try new songs. We get a lot of original music and a lot of people that come regularly. And then on different nights, it's based on what they see. Some nights people are going to come there and try. Some people are trying to get a gig, so they're going to do things that engage a little more. It's also different in the bar every night that we have open mic. Sometimes it's slow and people are watching. Really, the players are all watching the performers. But on a busy night in that bar, there's people cracking pool. There's people are talking, yelling, which is the beauty of it.
You just heard Joe Harley talking about hosting open mic at Eagle's Nest, a local favorite on Wednesday nights. But there's more to Joe's story. Once a fishing guide on Pine Island, Hurricane Ian changed everything. Now he's writing songs, recording music, and making a name for himself in a whole new way. His latest single, Past the Time, is gaining traction on Spotify. Let's hear from Joe. Joe Harley's in the house. Welcome. We're so glad you're here.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Certainly. We start in the beginning always. Where are you from? Where you grew up, if you'd like to fill us in on that one. I think we know the answer, but.
I was born just outside of Hershey, Pennsylvania. Moved here when I went to 30 days of kindergarten in Pennsylvania. I remember getting one snow day and then we were moving. I met all the kids in my class, got my first girlfriend, and then 30 days later, we moved to Florida, Fort Myers, place or two, and then great uncle there. My dad had an uncle there. Moved to Fort Myers. My dad was building homes for a company into there, and they did a home on Pine Island, and that's how he found Pine Island and like the street that I grew up on. He did a house on Berkshire, the road I grew up on. So he bought a house there and sometime in 1978. And I remember I left kindergarten in Pennsylvania, but I never went to kindergarten here. I started first grade in Fort Myers, started second grade at Pine Island Elementary.
You skipped kindergarten pretty much.
Yeah, I guess. It was an age bracket state law thing or something. Somehow, I never finished that year. I came down here and went into first grade.
Now, did you get a chance to go through the Hershey factory before you bolted, or?
Weirdly, I've never been through the Hershey factory, and I have an uncle that just retired from there. And I never toured it. I got taken to Hershey Park, which was cool, but kind of a nightmare for me because I'm not a big heights or roller coasters. And I just remember getting taken there and my family trying to talk me into the big swinging ship that goes upside down. I refused. I stood my ground 6 years old. I cried.
Way. Well, the whole town smells like chocolate.
It does. It did a lot back then. I was up there a few years ago and it wasn't as much as it used to be, but it was awesome. I can't believe I never toured the factory. The family that I have in Hershey lived literally a half a mile from it on Chocolate Avenue.
What were you like as a young man? Were you curious, creative, musical? How would you describe
I think I was I know that I was I want to say I was a loner, but I had friends and made friends easily, but I would also I was really happy, especially where I grew up. It was on Berkshire Road over there. There's a lot of land there. My dad bought an acre. So there was some kids on my street, but I was happy to play a complete 9-inning baseball game by myself with a ball and a bat. Every hit, I would have to walk and get it, and it would take me hours. And so things and eventually started playing guitar and got into fishing I was already into fishing when we moved to Pine Island. And so things that you could do by yourself, I always enjoyed. I guess that's, I'm still there. But I was just an active youngster, and was quickly made friends on the island and everything. But I was also really excited about the space I had where I grew up and times that I got to play by myself and do things by myself.
Was guitar the first choice, or was that did you move into it and did you start with some dime store version or?
First choice as far as musical instruments?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, it was, because I got into rock and roll quickly, or at a young age, and then it was all about the guitar. And my dad played guitar, so by the time I really wanted to learn, my dad taught me. He gave me a guitar when I was really young, and I, like 4 years old, gave me the red, white, and blue, like on Hee Haw, like Buck Owens had, and he didn't push it, but it was there for me. And I turned it down eventually, and 15 years old, I guess I came back to him and got him to show me the basics. I didn't even have a guitar yet. Like, my little brother had a toy guitar.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to quickly learn on that, and ended up getting a guitar for my 15th birthday.
So you said you got into rock and roll pretty early. Do you remember who some of those original influences that got you thinking about music were?
Sure. Classic rock I was hearing on the radio, bands like 38 Special, John Cougar. My first round of sets that I got for Christmas, was like John Cougar, American Fool album, and Survivor, Eye of the Tiger. By the next year, after 1 year of loving classic rock, I was like getting Yes records for Christmas and everything. I loved it all, but really liked the rock and roll. The Led Zeppelin and Van Halen became my favorite. I remember turning around in 6th grade at Pine Island Middle School, and my buddy sat right behind me. I turned around, he had this Van Halen cassette on his desk. Kid's name was Keith Herbott. I said, Van Halen. It was Diver Down. I said, is this cool? I said, Van Halen, are they cool? He goes, yeah, they're pretty cool. My brother turned me on to him. He was a Jersey guy. And I latched on and just clung on to Van Halen.
Did you see it just as something creative, a release, something fun to do? Or did you have visions of turning it into a profession?
I know, it's weird because you see it, especially in that era of rock music as a young kid. You see these people as being unimaginably cool. So cool that it didn't even have the goal to, I wanted to do it, and I did it. Like, I did want to learn how to do it, but there's no thinking that you could ever be in the same. These people, it's different today. You can grow up today, and then the kid that looks just like you is also on MTV and on the radio, but these guys didn't look just like you back then. They were like gods. And so it was both inspiring and limiting at the same time, a little bit for me, because I played baseball, and so my dad really wasn't going to let me walk around with 3 feet of long hair. Neither was the baseball coach.
I was going to say
who was my dad. No, but the first time of it, he wasn't always my baseball coach. But so yeah, I wanted to do it, and quickly did start to learn and pave my own way with it. But I didn't see it as a release. It was just something that seemed so cool that I just wanted to do it so bad. I didn't know where it was going to take me.
Also, maybe this is a bad assumption, the change in technology, where there you had to get somebody to notice you. You had to go through the demo process, and then you may or may not get that contract. And then and only then did you get studio time. And with the change in technology, now whether you think they're any good or not, there's a massive amount of kind of in-home recording, or instead of the large studio, and I don't know if it's true, I've heard a lot of those have shut down some of the classic places from where all the big hits were done, and it's smaller studios, and a lot of people are self-producing in the house now. So do you think maybe some of that, like the era that we grew up in and how we kind of worshiped, for lack of it, these guys, has it changed any, maybe because the access now to be able to record has changed?
Oh my God, yeah. Right down the line. The song I have out right now is recorded in one of my best friend's home studio. As back in the 90s in my bands, it was all about, eventually in the 90s was when they started making a digital 8-track, and my band, along with other bands, started making records in their homes. But yeah, until then, it was this real expensive and elite opportunity to get to record in most cases. So yeah, it's easier to put your music out there these days and have an opportunity to get heard. The whole process seems still challenging. The great ones still, there's still big record labels and big stars, but there's so much music out there, and it's easier to be part of that, at least get your music filtered in.
You would have gone in there and they'd said, "Hey, Joe, we're sorry. No, that's not happening." And you might have gone back and played clubs and bars near your house. But and now you say, "Well, okay, screw it. I'll get, is it SoundCloud or some of these other, I can't remember some of these name of services where you can just publish out there if you choose to, correct?"
Yeah, you can. If you release a song, it gets on all these platforms, and it doesn't mean people are going to hear them. You still have to find ways to get heard. And yeah, there's a lot of opportunities and bands doing what that cover band did, making a lot of money. Um, there's, like you said, there's just a lot of options with that these days.
Would you say do you have any highlights that you can think about as you've gone from, picking up the guitar at around 15 now to today?
Yeah, and I'm certainly not in some grand position with music by any means right now. So it's all just been fun and different bands I've gone in and out of playing exclusively original music and then back to playing cover songs to try to make money with it. Currently, I'm doing both, but no more bands. Most of my years were in bands. These days, playing by myself, it's fun. It pays better than putting the time in to have the time anymore or the access to band members to have some band that I just, after Hurricane Ian, I had a band that I worked for a couple of years on, practicing and practicing. Got so good, but never broke into to the using those cover songs to make any money. And we ended up writing music as well, but it all has kind of come down to me playing by myself now and learning how to do that and practicing and learning how to communicate in that situation and not just writing songs, but playing, if just trying to get paid, playing good cover songs, keeping people's attention, not being too much, not being too little. There's a lot to it.
When did you start writing music?
When I was young, I would write funny songs always. And I could do that at the drop of a hat. All through my 20s and everything. So I never really wanted to. I played in bands with songwriters. And then I guess around 2015 is when I started. I had a band called the Hypnoticals around here. And we got really popular and we were playing all the bars and started writing a lot in that band because we'd write fun. We'd just write knockoffs of 60s and 50s songs like we played. And it was real easy. Just write these funny little numbers. Next thing you know, we had a bunch of those. And, we would put out records with our little fun 60s type songs. And then as that band ended and I ended up like bad divorce, then I just started writing kind of real songs for the first time in my life. At that point, it was an outlet, 40 years later. And then that's when I started doing that a lot. Full time, pretty much, and with all of my extra time.
Well, let's talk about Pass the Time. I mean, that's a beautiful song.
Thank you.
The lyrics are lovely.
Thank you. Getting a lot of listens on Spotify. I've gotten it in some playlists where now it's feeding itself. So hopefully that continues. Yeah, it's doing surprisingly. I've put out like 50 songs and don't even have 1,000 listens on any of them. But now this one's going up like 1,000 a day for the last month. So at least it's in some good playlists. I'm in some folk and country playlists on that platform.
Mm-hmm.
You can look that song up on any other platform and it's minimal activity, but it'll start trickling over. I'm just happy to have a nice song like that and have it getting heard. I'm really happy with it. And
it's lovely.
Appreciate you saying that.
Now you progressed into, and if I'm quoting you correctly, I think you said serious songs or as an outlet and stuff like that. What's the mental set now to go from, in essence, you have the cover of words and music written by somebody else, and you're just simply trying to perform it and pay it respect. Now you're more, for lack of a phrase, you're putting yourself out there. This is something that you created, kind of your thing. So what's that like for you to then, one, get out there and kind of expose yourself with something you've created, and then to follow on now that you're making it, lists on Spotify and kind of the satisfaction that comes with that?
Yeah, it's funny because it's an outlet and all that, but you want to be careful, especially, you don't want to put yourself in the listener's shoes and try to be as critical as you can. You don't want to just whine. You know, it's an outlet, but yeah, you can't just whine. It doesn't always come across good. So trying to just be yourself and put music out there, it is a lot of fun and a great art. But then to hear it back, you know, it's part of this huge amount of music in the world. So get excited about it. And then, but reality is you listen back a couple years later to most of your stuff and cringy, in my case anyways, but you just keep trying to get better at it and be critical of, you know, what you want people to hear of you and think of you. So I've kind of finally at a good place with it with this song, and maybe this back to releasing some acoustic songs because I'm just everything's pretty at ease with me right now, so I can kind of deliver songs in that fashion the best. I'm not like a good rock singer or anything, so yeah, it's tricky putting your music out there and trying to save face.
Is it a tough decision to decide to record something because you want it to be good and you want it to be a reflection of what you're actually trying to accomplish and you want to be is that a scary step to actually record it and knowing that you're going down that path? Or are you comfortable enough, like with past the time, that you say, I think this is good enough that I want to go through that process and get it out there and see what happens?
For sure. More of the latter. These days, even though if recording still costs money to me, I'm not a recorder. I make demos. I have an 8-track demo machine, and I can make, especially if it's going to be an acoustic song, they all start that way. So I make these acoustic demos, keep my machine full of them, always have a lot of songs in the well, but doesn't all mean that they're all worthy of that. So you kind of have to, I'm either spending money at Pharmadelica to record, or I get to see my buddy up in St. Pete, which is also valuable time. We never get to see each other. When we get together, we'll usually kind of go through my 8-track and find the best one and record one. So yeah, I don't want to mess with recording a song unless it's fully there, in my opinion. So I'm not wasting anybody's time, and mainly my own time and money, or my buddy with his home studio.
So it sounds like you recorded in at least 2 places. What's the difference in like different environments, different audio engineers, or just different experiences? Or what's that like for somebody that doesn't record, and why you choose what you choose?
Yeah, and I'm only working at, well, in the last couple of years, it's been a few places. At a rock band last year that released a few songs. We were called the Tokes, and we would record at Unity Gain Studios in Fort Myers. We did a couple songs and out at Pharmadelica. So out of the few that I work with, there's definitely different. There's a good vibe everywhere. Up in Bokeelia at Pharmadelica, Howard and I met right when the pandemic was starting. He allowed me to come there, and I allowed myself to come there when the world was shut down. I lost my band. He didn't have any clients, but we committed to working with each other for that whole season initially. And so at this point, we've done so much. That created a big bond between he and I in the craziest of times, you know, and just recording a lot of music, a lot of emotional music, and good times, good laughs, tears. So now we have a great history, and there's a great vibe there. Whereas my buddy up in St. Pete is an old bandmate. We know each other so well and have played so much together that we know if we start playing some guitars or choose to record something, things kind of just move quickly and good things happen. It's not something I take too many risks with as far as getting outside of a comfort zone to go record. Because it's challenging to record. It's a fun challenge, but you have to be kind of happy, or at least happy enough to be, you know, with what's.
Well, and it's work, right? I mean, as much as you probably enjoy singing and playing, etc., you're just not sitting down hoping people clap at the end. I mean, it's being recorded and scrutinized, and
Yeah, it doesn't lie when you listen to it back. Like even if it's just you in the room or other, you know, nothing. It does not lie. It either sounds appealing on some level or it doesn't. So it's always got that challenge to it.
And you mentioned that you're now performing live. So what's that like? And interacting with the crowd and entertaining as well as performing. How's that process going for you, and what's that like?
Yeah, that's different. in in a lot of different situations. So times your background music, other times you're keeping up with a loud bar and kind of maybe doing a little more interacting. There's times I'm playing gigs where it's not a big money thing. It's like playing my own music with other people playing their own music. So in those cases, more people are actually kind of maybe watching and listening to what you're doing as opposed to it's taken a while to get decent at the acoustic paying gigs because they go on for a long time. At this point, I just play 3 hours. I don't take a break. I'm just kind of happy sitting there playing. But there's a lot of songs I would make the mistake a lot of playing songs I love, but nobody else knows them. And I would play them because they're good and I would do them well. But in a general public setting, if you're getting paid, I've learned to just really play popular music, whatever the genre is, the popular ones there. Because even if people aren't giving you immediate reaction over it, they're tapping their knee to it. They're singing along to their friend. They're singing the chorus. It sounds easy, and it kind of is easy, but there's a lot. You look at people when you're playing by yourself, and you think they think you're the worst thing that they've ever seen. And then you take a set break and that person gives you the nicest compliments you've ever, so you're looking at people's faces that do glance at you or watch you and you're trying to read it. Sometimes you don't need to do that because you don't know what people are really thinking. So I'm getting comfortable with it. It's a lot of fun.
Is popular like something that they recognize, or does it also extend into something you mentioned, like singing the chorus with you? Or I guess almost every bar somebody invariably plays at some point in time. Sweet Caroline, because it's kind of a participation song, if you will.
Yeah.
Does that kind of play into it then?
Absolutely. Popular is popular. It doesn't matter if it was, the older the song, the more that people have heard it, even if you've heard it from your grandparents or whatever. You know how these things are. So the Brown-Eyed Girl and songs that people can just sing along and they'll break away from their conversation even to just at least chime in on that chorus or famous verse or famous break, with a one-liner that everybody chants.
It's a terribly tough job to be performing. It isn't easy, and you're reading the audience.
It is and it's not, but it certainly has its moments of. It can be easy 3 days in a row, and then just when you think it's super easy, then you have trouble connecting in a room for whatever reason, or I show up and all of a sudden my sound system doesn't sound as good as it's supposed to, and now it just throws me off to a bad start, and now it's in my head and all the above. So you have to kind of rise above and be thick-skinned to do that. It is easy, but like anything, if you're getting paid for it, nothing is consistently just easy.
Well, it's just a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
So you feel I need to be good tonight.
Yeah, for sure.
So with the open mic that you host, is that primarily artists doing original material, or is this people just trying to just get up there and I'll quote you, use popular songs and get in front of an audience and get used to that? Or
it's a mix. We don't stress the original thing because we don't from the beginning didn't want to put that kind of vibe. We were trying this a year ago at the Eagle's Nest is when we started the open mic. So we really wanted to not limit it and leave anyone feeling awkward about coming. So songwriters come and try new songs. We get a lot of original music and a lot of people that come regularly. And then on different nights, it's based on what they see. Some nights people are going to come there and try. Some people are trying to get a gig. So they're going to do things that engage a little more. Mm-hmm. It's also different in the bar every night that we have open mic. Sometimes it's slow and people are really the players are all watching the performers. But on a busy night in that bar, there's people cracking pool. There's people are talking, yelling, which is the beauty of it. It's not a listening room event. So we get a lot of original music. We get duos, but and I'll even play. It's not karaoke, but if someone comes down and wants to sing, plenty of times I'll throw a YouTube karaoke track on for somebody to do that. A lot of people that are regulars eventually meet each other and then choose to do songs together. A lot of that's original, a lot of it's not.
With a lot of what you're doing and talking about here is, yeah, you're competing with conversation, drinking, eating, pool, darts. I mean, that's got to be an odd environment. Like you say, like some people might think you're great, but you see no reaction from them, and then other people have a reaction, but that's got to help you when you see some kind of reaction.
The thing that I love about this open mic, which has caught on at the Eagle's Nest, and I've played and been to open mics that are real serious and all original, and they're listening rooms, and it's great because you play and it's like, wow, everybody's paying attention. But I like Eagle's Nest open mic the way, because the bars, it's like one of the best places on the island, and one of the only late night spots. So it's like people are coming there. So a lot of people that come to an open mic either want to try their original song, or maybe they're new at playing, maybe their experience at playing, they want to come out there and they're trying to get a gig by basically auditioning at the open mic. Well, if the bar's busy and there's 50 people in there and nobody's really paying attention to you, that's just reality. It's a good thing, because in that moment, an open mic player you're playing in a full bar, but now you realize what that person's going through when they're sitting up there and they're in a full bar, but nobody's acknowledging the music.
Oh.
They don't have to. And then on the other nights, if someone shows up on the right night at open mic, maybe it's early and it's slow, and maybe the room's dominated by the people that are going to play, and then everybody is kind of sitting there. You can hear a pin drop, and everybody's listening, and maybe the dinner hour is slow. But I love the variety of conditions that the open restaurant, open bar, open mic offers to the night. It's reality. It's fun. We're not going to tell the 10 people that are knocking pool balls around to be quiet so we can play a folk song. We're all just having fun together.
It's good practice for you too.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like stand-up comedians.
We even have some. We have
Oh,
some
you do?
Yeah, we certainly welcome it. We don't get enough of it, but occasionally.
They can test out their jokes.
So probably for a creative like yourself, you're always working on some of the song. Is there anything brewing that's like close to being recorded, or are you waiting for, not waiting for, I shouldn't say, but just working in the background to see how your other song does? Or is it like this constant thing where you're saying, hey, this one's getting good enough, I might consider recording it, and it's kind of just an ongoing process? That one's out, and so you're on to the next thing. What's your mindset on that?
Got a song that already recorded that's nearly done, that is the next one that I really love. However, for the past like 10 years, most times I'll really quick to record another one, and always quick you can write as many as you want, but as far as putting them out, and I keep putting these songs out in obscurity land to no avail. And now where my mindset has shifted, what I'm going to do different now is I got the nicest song that I've ever done out there. And it's nice enough that it fits into my world. It's an original song, but it can also help me get like a restaurant gig, because I can send a bar owner that they can hear my voice, my vibe. So, and it's getting some streams. So I would definitely, I'm just going to let it linger and see what I can do with it. I might get several ready, might even record some more, but I'm not going to put out another one until after this year's over.
Kind of bank them up. And
yeah, I really just want to see what this one song can do. I'm trying to sell it to some licensing services and so forth as well. So I'm going to see what happens with it. It's got traction. It's got a little bit of traction, but for someone like myself, a little bit of traction is huge. I've never had any traction. With my, I've been in bands that almost got signed to big labels, but they weren't on. I wasn't the singer and the main writer. So yeah, this song has some traction now, far from there's just pending goodness. And it has got a little, it's going up a lot on that one, on the biggest service in the world right now, Spotify. So, I'm hoping some doors open from it. They already are opening. Any door opening is good. Any restaurant that'll hire me to pay me, anyone ask me any questions. This type of stuff is beautiful.
So how does somebody keep up with your music? Obviously, you mentioned the streaming services, get it on a playlist into the music, which is all good for you. But do you do like social media where you discuss what's going on with you so people can kind of be aware of what you're up to?
My social media is at this point just Joe Harley, but it's back to where the music is being released under the name Hotel Life. I don't do social media for Hotel Life. I have a bank account for Hotel Life, but I don't have a social media. So honestly, the streaming services are enough right now. I'm on a little record label in the SONY ORCHARD, which is their division for newbies, and they promote it a little bit. And the streaming is where it's at for people. I'm not selling anything at shows. There's no hard copies. Yeah, my Facebook promotes Hotel Life and my Joe Harley restaurant and bar gigs. And I'd kind of, at this point, I'm leaving the music to digital streaming to see where it goes.
So if people wanted to know where you're going to be playing next, just go to your Facebook.
Joe Harley Facebook. And that's the only thing I use Facebook for. So it's all musical. And a lot of times it has to do with my original music. Other times it's the cover show gigs.
And more importantly, if somebody wants to hire you for a gig, how best do they get a hold of you or contact you?
On Facebook seems to be the most popular, or my telephone, 239-443-7412, or email hotellife337@gmail.com.
What else maybe about yourself or your music haven't we asked you that you'd like to get out here before?
At this point, this is great because I'm in music mode, and so this is cool. And it seems like you've had other musicians. It sounds like you guys have already focused on some music, and this is great where this went.
No, we just want to know about you. We have had a ton of artists. That's what Pine Island is.
Yeah.
All these creative people.
What I would like to add, and what we probably should, I grew up in St. James City. I've lived the last almost 25 years in Matlacha, and I moved away. I've only ever moved away. I moved into Fort Myers after high school to get started in that, where I met those people, connected with the college and the rock and roll. And I moved to St. Pete to play in a band. But I've mostly been around here. I loved growing up here. I love proud to be from here. And even back in a time when, like, to go into the mainland to do things, even as kids, you would get made fun of and that type of thing. But I really love Pine Island still. And my family is not around Pine Island anymore. My dad, my stepmom have passed. Little brother's in a rock band in Detroit. But after losing one island business, I'm happy to be working at Ace. Knew Chris when I was really young, and even before she became the hardware store rock star that she is. So it really feels good. She's the one that I had to interview with all of them, but I knew Chris. That's why I went there to ask for that job. And it's been so great being there and seeing people. And it's not an easy job. It's a lot of interaction that you have to be up for and a lot of work. I'm seeing people that some of my friends' parents, for instance, that I may not have seen pace up until Ian. There's people that I maybe wouldn't have seen one or two more times for the rest of our life. And now I see them once a week. And it's not, because these are people I grew up around. And I'm just doing a nice little variety show these days that I guess because of growing up here, it's been able to establish a nice, comfortable existence. And I'm able to kind of translate that into where I'm at with music these days. I've been married, divorced. I don't have kids. I'm a cat dad. So Matlacha, I'm living there where it's such a cool place. I caught the golden era of Matlacha, the end of some golden eras, and I caught the full extent of the next golden era. And now it's lost its pulse. My neighbors are all gone. Everything, infrastructure is being rebuilt, but it's still a great place. My house is done, and it's amazing now compared to the way it was. And it's my little sanctuary, and this place is special. So it's really neat to meet folks like you guys that come here and love it. People don't move to Pine Island, unless they're hiding from something, or you just, there's always been that. But
well, we won't talk about that.
No, but you move to Pine Island or Matlacha because You love it.
You fell in love when we came over the Malechet Bridge.
Yeah.
You said, we're moving here.
And so to live in a place where everyone loves it is always cool. It's one of the things I loved. I used to go to New Orleans a lot for an era. And when I was married 10, 15 years ago, New Orleans was like that. People loved New Orleans. You know, the person that was homeless would be helping the billionaire remodel their new renovation purchase, and everybody just there and working and improvement because they loved that town. And that's the way I always felt about like Malechet, especially and Pine Island.
This has been very enjoyable. Loved your interview. It's great. Thank you for doing it, Joe.
Thank you for having me.
We hope you enjoyed our Pine Island Experience podcast. If you have any ideas for us, people to interview, or any comments, please feel free to email them to us at pineislandexperience@gmail.com. That's pineislandexperience, all one word, @gmail.com. Don't forget to like us, and you may subscribe to this podcast using all the major catchers like Apple iTunes, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. Thanks again for listening, and remember, island life is a constant vacation. We'll see you on the next podcast.